Good evening and welcome to the Unexplained. If you were offered a journey, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see the stars, would you take it? Tonight, we discuss a man who accepted that offer to explore the cosmos and never returned. This is the testimony of Granger Ormond Taylor. On the 29th of November, 1980, 32-year-old Granger left an unusual note to his parents. It would be the last communication they ever had with their son.
Dear Mother and Father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship. As reoccurring dreams assured a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I am leaving behind all my possessions to you. I will no longer require the use of any. Please, use the instructions in my will as a guide to help you. Love, Granger.
Alongside the note was his will, with death crossed out and replaced with departure, and a hand-drawn map of Waterloo Mountain. Investigators are still unaware of the significance of Waterloo Mountain. He was last seen at Bob's Grill, a diner in the area. A waitress noted his casual attire and wasn't seen wearing a coat, which was quite odd considering the cold November weather. At 6:30, he left the diner and drove off into the night in his Datsun truck. He was never seen again. The police searched for him and his Datsun truck, but neither were found. To understand this whole situation further, let's talk about who Granger was. Granger loved space. His fascination with life on other worlds became an obsession. He even built a life-size UFO on his parents' farm. On some nights, he would sleep out there and dream about how flying saucers worked. He had a special interest in mechanics ever since he was in grade 8. At one point, he restored a World War II Kitty Hawk plane, which was sold for thousands of dollars. He was considered kind of a genius. The last few months leading up to his disappearance, things changed. His dreaming over how UFOs worked became an obsession. His sister reported he started taking acid a few times a day, and he told his friends that he was in direct contact with aliens. Bob Nielsen, his friend, said,
"He lay there and got mental communications with somebody from another galaxy. He couldn't see them, they were just talking to him in his mind."
Granger would beg the extraterrestrials to disclose how their machines worked, but they only divulged it was something to do with magnetism. According to his friends, it was common for them to discuss going into outer space, so they didn't really get concerned when he started to seem serious. He outlined how the aliens said he was invited on a trip through the Milky Way galaxy, and told his friends that they couldn't come because they would be leaving too much behind on Earth. He also stated that he would be picked up on a rainy night because it would hide the ship from onlookers. They didn't take him seriously, but unfortunately, he was deadly serious. When the stormy night came along, he left, never to be seen again. On June 29th, 1983, the date in which he was meant to return from the stars, Granger's stepbrother sat out on a boat and watched the night sky. He thought of how maybe he would see a glimmer of light, a sign from above that said that Granger would return, or at least say that he was okay. As the hours passed, he realized he wouldn't be getting the closure he longed for on that night. April 1986. Almost 6 years after his disappearance, fragments of what was once a truck was found. A group of forestry workers found an old blast site, which wasn't that far from where Granger lived with his parents. The local Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigated the scene when they discovered bone fragments. Granger was known to pack dynamite in his truck for the purpose of removing tree stumps, so it made sense that it was his truck that detonated, either intentionally or by accident. Due to DNA profiling being quite new, it was never authenticated if these bones belonged to Granger, but the residents of the area, including the police and some of his family and friends, believes it was him. To this day, the fate of Granger Ormond Taylor is unknown. So let's look at the testimonies and the evidence collected from this case. The first question we must ask is, where is Granger? There are 4 leading theories. Theory 1 is that it was an accident. Whatever happened on that night, Granger believed he was going to travel with aliens. He probably got in his car, which had dynamite in, and by some mistake, the car detonated. Accidents happen all the time, but does that explain the note? Was it just a coincidence that the day he left a note, he also got into a deadly accident? Theory 2 is that he assumed a new identity. One of his lifelong friends, Robert Keller, recounted a story where Granger said,
If I wanted to disappear, all I would have to do is grow a beard and move to another country, and no one would know where I was.
Keller believes he is still alive and decided to just leave, either to another country or another world altogether. He seemed to have a few close friends, but he did struggle with bullying in his younger years. Would that be why he wanted to escape his small town? Theory 3 is that he committed suicide. Some of his friends and family believed he decided to take his own life. His stepsister Joan knew him to be quite lonely. His lack of success on figuring out how UFO propulsion worked ate away at him. He would spend endless nights in isolation in his UFO replica, thinking the problem over and over and over again. His sister Grace believes due to being under the influence quite a lot, it began to mess with his head, and could have exaggerated those negative thoughts, which led him to making his tragic decision. The truth is, whatever happens in someone's mind is sometimes an internal battle. He could have been struggling a lot more than he told people. It has been suggested that the note he left for his parents was a suicide note, but was fabricated to include aliens to shield them from the truth. Theory 4 is that he actually did make contact with aliens. It has been suggested that maybe he was communicating with people from another world, that they sent instructions for him to get into his car and drive to a location. Maybe the aliens blew up his car to hide the truth. Maybe the aliens told him to detonate the dynamite in order to leave his earthly body behind so he could ascend to the heavens above. Grace Taylor, Granger's mother, believes he was picked up by aliens on that fateful night, just as her son told her that he was. And who can argue with mother's intuition? Was Granger really in communication with extraterrestrials? Or was this a man who was struggling with his mental health and took his own life? Is the truth so upsetting that believing the more outlandish story is more comforting? There is good reason to believe that Granger is not amongst the living. But maybe, just maybe, he's up there right now, unraveling all the mysteries of the skies. All I hope is that he found peace. Personally, when I encounter the unexplained, I usually side with the theory that is most plausible in my eyes. But sometimes our own personal experiences can ignore the logical answer. While I believe the theory that it was most probably suicide, either as a conscious choice or a deluded decision for the prospect of interstellar travel, my own personal experiences with losing someone to suicide makes me not want to believe that. For once, I want to side with the fact that it was a mistake. The explosion was an accident, or maybe he's traveling the world under a new identity. I don't want it to be the sadder alternative. It's important to remember, behind these stories, there are real people. People who were loved, and missed, just like I miss my friend. If you are struggling, please reach out to someone. Until next time, friends, good night.